Welcome to Stories from the Pitch, a podcast dedicated to creating a living oral history about street performing and some of the crazy characters who populate this world. I'm Magic Brian, your host for this growing collection of interviews. This episode is another interview I did while on a gig in Sharjah for Dolphin Creative in January of 2020, back when we could gather crowds. I spoke with Pete Anderson, a.k.a. Pete Dobbing, about his journey through the wonderful world of street theater. He talks about how his desire to hang upside down in a straitjacket and forming a juggling society and university set him on a path to becoming a street performer. He talks about the evolution of his show, his hesitation to work Covent Garden, and his first time in Glastonbury playing invisible drums for Herbie Treehead. He shares stories about his 9-month tour of the world, past versions of his shows, working cruise ships with George Orange, and in his early days balancing a teaching job with street performing. I really enjoyed my conversation with Pete. We had a lot of laughs, and I found his journey quite unique. All right, how you feeling? Tired?
Alright, right now I'm alright, yeah. The mornings are hard.
Yeah. Well, good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
We're in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates. It is January 22nd, 2020.
2020.
You're the first interview of 2020.
Wow.
Pete Dobbing, now Pete Anderson.
Yeah.
Don't say that. You gave up your name for your wife?
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah,
I moved it.
Yeah.
Across into a different industry.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, I do comedy.
I'm aware of that.
So, as well as street theatre. So I kept. So my birth name is Peter Dobbing, Peter John Dobbing, and I started street performing as Pete Dobbing, and then I started doing comedy. And before I started doing comedy, a guy said, who's a booker, said, Dobbing, that's a funny name, you'll do well. Anyway, when we got married, I took Hazel's name, took my wife's name, so it became Mr. Anderson, Pete Anderson. But I kept the Dobbing as the comedy character,
because it's a funny name.
Well, and I can't remember. There's many reasons, but
That's right.
Yeah. So I am Pete Dobbing if I'm doing stand-up comedy, no props, man on a mic, talking, or sometimes hosting with no props, something like at Glastonbury. So that'll be Pete Dobbing. But then the street performer is Pete Anderson.
Interesting.
Pete Anderson's unstable. It's not interesting. It's complicated.
It is interesting. It's interesting because you say you had your career, and we'll go through that.
Yeah.
Your career as a street performer, as Pete Dobbing, and then you left that behind.
Transition.
Did it confuse anyone? Like, who is this guy? Say he's on a ladder, like the Pete Dobbing I've seen before, but his name is Anderson.
I don't know who. Yeah, I'm not sure how much following I have.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, let's
Shep Huntley said, what did Shep say? Don't change your name because you need them to follow you. But I don't think
you didn't listen to him.
I don't think they follow.
No. Well, anyways, let's go then from the beginning. How did you get started? What did you do?
I did lots of...
Where'd you grow up, first of all?
I'm from London. I grew up in London.
Wow,
in East London. Yeah.
City boy.
Yeah, East London, sort of Hackney, Mare Street, Bethnal Green, so East London, North East London.
Was it rough back then?
Yeah. I think so. We lived in quite a tidy little nice little mini section within a fair mixed roughish area. I went to quite a roughish. No, it wasn't. I don't know. It's how do you know what's rough?
Guess
it's so perspective, isn't it?
I suppose. Yeah. What you're used to.
But now it's very like New York. It's very it's like areas that you're blown away that they're trendy and incredibly. Like sort of not even a rough area, it's like a nothing area between two areas. That sort of place is now super hard. It's really weird. So London, and then I did I was interested in magic when I was a kid. Read lots of books. Never really did much performing. Just annoyed my friends and siblings. But really interested in the mechanics of it, and then did a 16 to 18, the last 2 years of high school. What you call high school? I chose maths, electronics, and drama, theatre studies. And the theatre studies, the performance element I felt the least like work.
Right.
And
I enjoyed it the most.
I enjoyed that the most. And then I just went to university because that's. So you pick a subject, but it's just like, I don't know what I want to do. What I do the one.
And this is all in London. You stayed in London.
No. So university, I went to Aberystwyth, which is a seaside town.
Okay.
Which is 5 hours by car from London, which is for the UK.
Yeah, that's far.
Really far.
Yeah.
And by train, it's 5 hours, which is further than Edinburgh because it's little local line.
Yeah.
So I studied theatre. The degree was drama. Because I looked at different options, and that seemed like, although my first year was half of my optional modules were in computer science, and then my core modules were all in drama. So technically, my first year of my degree was actually a joint degree between drama and computer science. But then I dropped all the computer science and just did the
focus on drama.
Performance. So I wanted, and then after university.
So was it like acting classes, and you did plays?
Very mixed, really modular. So there was theory, there was technical stuff. So sound design, set design, Indian theatre as a module, 17th century drama. Mm-hmm. So lots of different modules taught by different people, and you kind of lots of it was selective. That's what I liked about it as well. So you could choose. So I did again quite a lot of technical stuff, and you could choose make it up. And the really nice thing about this course in Aberystwyth was the first semester of the final year. So it's a 3-year course. Is almost entirely practical. So there's no exams, there's no written work. You just make shows. So you're involved in 3 shows in 3 months, and you'll, depending on what your modules are, you'll do different things. So I did like a big acting role in one, I did a small acting role in another, and did the technical sound design for that one. Right. And then I did the set design for a third, or something like that. So that's one of the things that drew me to it, was the avoidance of written work and just the practical.
You're actually doing something. Yeah, that's great. And then you were just playing around with magic then, still, or you just were focusing?
Yeah, I'm not sure I never really performed it much in any formal capacity.
Just played around with it.
But I sort of, when I could, I did, but I didn't have any options. Yeah. And I had a Davenport's straitjacket with the red stripe, the V, and I wanted to do it suspended, and I was trying to figure out how to do it suspended. So I found a bungee jumping company in
you wanted to do it suspended where? For what?
Just because.
Just to try.
Again, just wanted to do, because that's a cool trick, right? So I just wanted to do that. So I...
This is when you were in college? Or
yeah. So 19, 20. And so I looked online and found a bungee jumping company that would sell bungee jumping equipment. And I said, hi, can I order a bungee harness? But I want the bit from the ankle to the carabiner to be as short as you can make it. And they said, oh, well, that's not safe. I'm never going to use it for bungee jumping. I want to hang by my ankles in a straitjacket, but I don't want it. I want the most height. So can you? And so they had this thing made for a few £100. But before that, I met this guy. I met Adam, his dad was a theatre director and a theatre teacher, and so he's like a technical guy, but he knows theatre and he does theatre design, lighting design. He still is a lighting designer. I met this guy at a party, and my version of this is 20 years ago. My version is, I'd heard I just didn't really know him. He was a juggler, and he was a theatre technician and a climber. And I was like, and he knew about theatre. And I was like, right, this is the guy who can hang me from my ankles, because he's a climber and a rigger and a juggler. So he gets it.
He knows why it's not a weird request.
Yeah, he can handle this. He's qualified for this. So my memory, again, it's all was at this bonfire party. I was like, hey, could you hang me from my ankles? And what? And so we tried it. So we went to this park, and I think this was before the bungee harness. So we had like tea towels, dish rag, drying towels, and climbing straps around my ankles, and then a rope over a branch of a tree, and then we needed a low point to tie to. But there wasn't one, so we drove a car on and tied it to the tow hitch on a car. So it's like tow hitch a car, ankles up, over a tree, and hanging out in the park. and he's a juggler. So he's like jugglers like hacky, not quite hacky sack, but like the hacky sack vibe. University. So he's juggling. I'm doing electronic release or whatever, and we're just hanging out in the park, and that was fun. University. You can imagine the scene.
Yeah.
So we did that a few more times. We just sort of hang out with other jugglers, and sort of connected with the juggling community.
Well, what are you doing with this straitjacket?
I don't know. Just like that was the purpose to be there, was to sort of, can we work out how to...
But you never did it.
Not to anybody. No, I don't think we kept doing the straitjacket. That's just how it started.
Yeah.
And then and then I sort of learnt to juggle. I think I had learnt to juggle briefly years before, but I wasn't really a juggler. And then I became a juggler, hanging out with him. And then at university, they had a system where if you could get 20 signatures, you could form a society.
Uh-huh.
And if you formed a society, you could get funding. And the basic funding was £200. But if it was for the purpose of the society and you got the signatures to prove you, so we're like, well, if we get 20 signatures, we can get some juggling equipment, and you can use rooms for free because it's university. So we formed the juggling society in the university. So once a week we had an empty room with a high ceiling, and we had 200 quid's worth of basic juggling props. So we just have a hangout.
And were there about 20 of you or more?
Oh yeah, we got enough signatures, and then it was sort of around that or rotating. Yeah. And the nice thing about Aberystwyth is one of the old seaside towns. But anyway, it faces directly west, so you get sunset over the sea. I mean, you're still in Wales, in the UK, but it's still a lovely sunset. So we're university guys, so we juggle fire on the beach at sunset a lot and hang out. And then that's when the street thing started, because if you're juggling fire at sunset,
people are going to show up.
People are going to start, and you kind of get the revelation about street performing happens, and you go, oh, hang on. Oh, we can ask for money. Oh, okay. How can we do this more effectively? And you kind of, it's when you discover street performing for yourself. And hang on, this could...
But for you, growing up in London, you must have...
No, I don't have any real memories of...
Nothing.
I remember going to Covent Garden, but we didn't go... Because
This would have been growing up in the 80s?
Yeah, so born in 78, so the show age kid all through the 80s, which is this huge boom time in Covent Garden. But I think it's this London thing about some people from London never go to the West Piazza because it's too busy, and it's a tour. You don't go to Trafalgar Square, and you don't go to Covent Garden.
I don't go to Times Square.
You don't go to Times Square.
I took Dino through Times Square once because my sister works near there, and I was like, I'm just going to show you this because we're never going to come up there.
Yeah, exactly.
You stay in your neighbourhood, you go to neighbourhoods, you don't go to the places.
No, it's not for you.
No.
I have memories of going to the Covent Garden area because directly north of the performing area used to be warehouses. And that's like the big shopping place in Covent Garden. And over the last however long, 30, 40 years, that area is massive. Since the 60s, really, that area has really changed. It's almost weird that I don't have, as a Londoner, have any connection with Covent Garden as a child whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then... So me and this guy, we decided we didn't know what to do when we left university. But I think I wanted to learn how to do street performing, so we sort of formed a double act because it's easier as a double. And we were like, well, how are we gonna? It just seemed easier. We knew that Australians came. I don't know how. I think we went to some. I don't know how any of this information came from, but it seemed like
was this in the 90s now?
This is the early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
1999.
99.
It seemed like Australians travelled here, so we could go. It seemed like there was a circuit. And to just sort of get away from your own world and be somebody else and learn something else, because it's the awkward, humiliating process of learning street performing, it seemed easier to we'll go there. And when we're there, we'll have to make it work, because we need money.
Because you have to.
It'll be easier. So we'll be backpackers, and as backpackers, we'll learn to be buskers.
Right. Because you're 20-something, and that seems like a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and also we just left university, and I got out with a theatre degree, drama degree, and I want to be a street performer. And so So
it wasn't like I want to be an actor. It was I want to be a street performer.
I sort of wanted to be an actor, but it seemed like you have to be an actor. Even then, you needed to be good, lucky, hardworking, and attractive. All really weird looking. So distinctive appearance, either conventionally attractive or extremely unconventional. And lucky and good and hardworking. And I believe I am good. I'm good at acting. I think I believe I'm averse to hard work. I do actually work really hard.
Yeah.
But in my head, when my brain works, it's like, no, get out of it.
Well,
how can you get out of it? Which is what street performing is.
Yeah.
It's the hardest easy life.
Well, that's even going back to when you were in high school, or, when you
I'll do the
drama.
Yeah,
because it was easier than
And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's just different.
Yeah,
but
it's only easy because you enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
which is street performing. It's so hard.
It is hard.
But in your head, it's like, oh, this is the easy way.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest easy way.
It is. It is the stupidest thing. To go out in a square and just convince people to look at you and then pay you at the end.
Yeah. So we went backpacking. We bought a round the world ticket.
Wow.
And then the trip was California, Hawaii, Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and then India. But I think I didn't do India.
How many months is this trip?
This is 8-9 months.
Wow.
So it was like, and this is what's fun. This is 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
This trip is now. We're in January. So we just landed in Australia. We were in New Zealand in December, and we went to Sydney for Millennium. But yeah, so we did that, and then went to LA. So stayed in a hostel, watched some shows. I think we tried half to do a show on.
So your plan the whole time was to try to do shows in all these places, or was it?
No, the plan was to do the places in Australia.
Okay,
it was to get to Australia,
right? Because you had the sense that Australians were coming to the UK to do shows.
I just knew there were places you could do it,
and you don't know how they got that information. You don't remember where that came from?
No, I don't know. Did we go to it? Maybe we went just to a convention or something. But it's weird. Just don't remember how you got your ideas. But let's do that.
It's great though. So California, where did you go? Like the Venice Beach or something?
Yeah, we stayed in a hostel. Short bus cab from Venice Beach, and we had a look. And my main memory of staying there was there was a soda machine that sold like Pepsi and 7-Up, and then the bottom two are out of order. And they said, that one's Budweiser. The first, and it was beer. The bottom two out of order. They said out of order, but they were beer. And you could put money in, it was beer in a hostel. That's fantastic.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. It's amazing.
And we watched some shows, and I think we tried to do a show. I think we threw out a fire torch in the audience.
Oh, that's great.
I don't even, but we had no idea. That was super early for us.
So before you left, you didn't really have a show. You just were playing around on the beach and passing a hat to people who were.
Yeah, I think we did. We had tried a weekend in Bath, and so we'd worked out. When you work out, when you're really new, you obsessively work out, like 9-year-olds practicing musical routines. You work it out. You did this and this.
Yeah. How long do you think the show was when you guys were first doing it?
I don't know, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Some juggling. I did the straitjacket, he juggled fire.
Oh, you did the straitjacket?
Too high. Yeah, not suspended.
Right.
Yeah, so straitjacket, electronic release, straitjacket, fire. I think in these super early days, he juggled fire. By the time we got to LA, we were passing fire badly.
Okay.
Because
that's why you threw
one
it to
of
the
you
audience.
could just about. If one of you's good, the other one can carry the other one passing fire. So it's a bit of fire juggling and a straitjacket and an electronic release in a bag, which is really nice. It was super quick.
And then after California, Australia, Hawaii,
which is great. So September in Hawaii,
and just hung out,
drunk, and staying in little shacks, and being those guys, backpacker, big backpackers.
Just stopping in parks and passing torches.
We didn't really do much performing in.
But you probably
Hawaii,
practicing all the time.
Yeah, I think I did some. I had a go. I'm going to have a go, and I went down to the beach and started. And
what island were you on in Hawaii?
Oahu, I think.
Okay.
And then a police buggy, a golf buggy, pulled up. I didn't even have an edge. And he's watched me for ages, and he came over and said, I've been watching you for a while, trying to work out how what you're doing is illegal. And I've been calling the guys, and you're not allowed bonfires here. And because you're not allowed to do bonfires, this isn't allowed. But really reasonable. No, I wasn't in any trouble. I knew it wasn't allowed. And I had to come work out how it wasn't allowed. And in a very reasonable way. No malice whatsoever. Can I have to ask you to stop, because I've eventually worked out why this isn't illegal.
I made some phone calls to the boys back at the station.
I got the team on it.
We looked through the books, and
the closest we could do is
bonfire.
No, barbecues.
Barbecues.
Yeah, barbecues.
Now, I know there's no meat involved here, but there's a fire, so I'm going to call you on that. Oh, God.
And it was fine, it wasn't working anyway, so that's fine. So really in Australia, so in Christchurch, I went to New Zealand, and we ended up working in a warehouse in New Zealand. Like, we did rubbish backpacker jobs along the way, because we weren't still making. We never even really did in Australia. And then and then I worked in a seafood restaurant, and he worked wherever he worked. So we just became backpackers. It didn't really happen. But I had a great trip and met JP. I got a dangerous props license from JP in Darling Harbour for Sydney, for Circular Quay in 2000.
So you turned up, you found the pitch.
So we did a couple of shows. We did a few shows on the art museum, the Modern Art Gallery or something. I can't remember what it's called. So we did some shows then, and by then it was nice. It was a straitjacket with trying to find a card in the straitjacket, and then which is sort of a rip-off of some stuff I saw. Who's the Mancunian magician in the UK from Manchester? Paul Zennon.
Oh,
Paul Zennon. I used to watch him on TV when I was a kid. He did some good kids TV magic when I was the right age for it. And he did pine glass out of the straitjacket, which really stayed with me. So I did straitjacket. Is that your card? No, is that your card? So cards coming up through the collar.
Oh, nice.
And then, hang on, and then what? This is. I used to have a shaved head because I was going bald then, and then a phone would ring. And then I would answer the phone through the collar of the straitjacket. And then it'd be like, oh no.
So you had like a whole soundtrack for the show?
Yeah. I think maybe I had a bike bat. I don't remember how I made the ringing sound. But I'd answer it. Hello? And sorry, stop the show.
And this is still a duo show?
This is a duo show. So I'm in the straitjacket, and he's watching me trying to find these cards. I'd answer the phone, and I'd start having like a brief conversation. Hold the show. Hang on. No, he's here. Yeah. Hang on. Okay. And it's for you. I'd hand it to him, and he'd stretch the cable out, and he'd be like, okay, hang on, hang on, and he'd sort of indicate to me that he needed a pen, and then I'd give him a pen.
This is great. This is really fun. You got a lot of stuff inside that straitjacket.
And then,
was it really big on you?
I don't know. And then he'd take the pen, and then he'd like have no paper, and I had a bald head, so he'd take a number, and I'm in the straitjacket, and he's writing a number on my head. And then he pulls sketch a letter, and then he'd pull the phone, and the cable would keep coming, and then it would be string, and then it was underpants. It was a washing line.
Wow.
And then at the end it was a bra, of course. No, not a bra. It was a washing line, and then it was cards on pegs on a washing line. Jesus. Was that your card? No. Was that your card? No. Okay, forget it.
Did you get this all set up inside of a straitjacket?
In Australia, it's like, you know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And then, so that would all go. And they're like, back to routine, right, count down 10. And I'd throw the straitjacket on the floor and escape. And the T-shirt. The T-shirt came off. The last thing was the T-shirt on the washing line. And then the straitjacket came off, and I was topless, apart from a bra. And then the card was in the bra that I was wearing.
It's brilliant.
And that's the routine.
Brilliant.
So at the beginning of this...
It's a great idea. I mean, better for stage, but still...
Yeah, so the routine is straitjacket escape with a phone, a bra with a forced card, a washing line,
pen.
A pen, all this in somehow.
You don't remember how you...
Just in my underpants. I've just spent my career hiding things in my underpants. Yeah, like the phone. I think the phone's under your... It's a full-size telephone.
You shoved it
like an old...
in your crotch?
Like an old... Yeah, no, like cupping you. You know? Like tucked. Like in drag, like a tuck.
Yeah.
So there's a full-size phone downstairs, tucked in my underpants, and a bra, and a card in the bra, and a string, like 2 meters of string, with playing cards on full-size clothes pegs.
Are you arriving on the pitch in the straitjacket?
No.
So you're walking around with a phone cupping your balls.
Yeah, the first half of the show is that.
You've got everything loaded in your underwear.
I think so, yeah.
How long?
Great routine, right?
Yeah.
And then a too high, start with a too high, juggle fire, pass fire.
With a phone?
Electronic release. Yeah, I was the bass. He's smaller than me.
I know, I'm just saying, so you're doing all this with the phone.
In Australia.
Yeah.
In summer.
In your underwear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why'd you give up on that show?
I don't know. I think he was never... He's not a performer at all. He's doesn't want to be on stage.
Uh-huh.
You know, like something... which we realised.
So he just did
very late in the process.
Right.
Because he liked juggling, he liked the adventure, he likes figuring things out, like solving the problem of street performing, but actually doing street performing is that first bit, especially that first arc of becoming a street performer. It's so unpleasant.
Yeah, and also doing it in Sydney.
Yeah.
To people that just...
Yeah.
Really hard.
And we had no idea, because we were new, we had no idea. I think it went okay for beginners.
And who was on the pitch when you were working besides JP?
Sharon Mahoney. Al. Paul. I can't remember his real name. We call him in Covent Garden. We call him Evil Paul. What's his name? Really nice, gentle. He lives in Berlin now. I can't remember his surname now because in Covent Garden we call him Evil Paul because he's so nice.
I see.
So does.
Yeah.
But I don't remember him being there. But I think he says, "Oh, and I did the rubber glove on the head."
Uh-huh.
And I think he, you know, when you think you take something, he took it from me. Like obviously it's not mine, but he saw me doing us doing rubber glove on the head.
And he decided,
I was like, "Oh, I'll do that."
Yeah. So
and I remember someone ran in one day and said, "Have you seen what Al's doing? Have you seen Al? Al's over there. He's doing a show with a unicycle, but it's just a seat. There's no unicycle. It's just a stick with a seat."
That's when he first started.
And it was it was the first time anyone had. It was someone being surprised, like,
"Whoa, what's this?"
It's a pole, you know, but he couldn't even articulate it as a pole. It was like, "Oh, there's a unicycle, but there's no unicycle."
Yeah, amazing.
And yet Sharon was there.
And were you getting advice from everybody, or were everyone just kind of starting out?
We were I think we were left alone. We were just sort of on the side pitch, and
so, I guess that would be like Sharon probably would have been fairly new.
She was pretty new. Yeah, she was figuring
Al
out.
might have been just.
No, I think Al was pretty established. Owen Lucky was there.
Oh, wow.
But he was just a strip on the eye, like the rectangle on the eyes.
Yeah,
that era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm really glad I went. I'm really glad I just to pass through just one season, just skirt through that.
Yeah. And how long did you spend there?
Yeah, maybe 3 months, 4 months.
Really?
So it was like an Australian trip, but the ticket was a round the world ticket. So we did place.
Yeah.
Couple of months, 6 weeks in New Zealand, 3 months, 4 months in Australia.
And then in those 4 months in Australia, it was Sydney for a bit, doing some shows, and then just traveling around.
Yeah, we did Sydney for a bit. As I say, Adam isn't a natural performer. He doesn't want to be on stage. He's a technician because he's interested in theatre, but not on that side at all. And we sort of figured that out whilst going through that unpleasant double act process. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't confident enough yet to realise I could go and do as a solo. So we just sort of gave up on the street performing faded. We got day jobs as well. And then the street performing was just
so you do that.
Hard.
So you did it. You just did it in Sydney and nowhere else.
Just did a little bit in Sydney.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just worked in the seafood restaurant, and then we did backpacking. And we went to Adelaide. So we bought a car, drove to Adelaide, and then we were in Adelaide for the first week. And we turned up and said, "Hi, we're here to volunteer."
The Fringe was on that year.
Yeah. And even. So we knew about the Fringe. So I remember watching shows, watching Dado, whatever he was called before he was called.
Oh, I didn't know he was called something before.
Before it was the Dowder character though.
Yeah.
It used to be like more of a street show. Before the shoulders and the thing.
I only known him as the shoulders and thing.
Yeah. So before that, and I remember watching that under the canopy, and we stayed on the beach in a van.
And neither of you did shows because at this point,
we hadn't. We'd given up by then, but we wanted to see the festival.
Yeah.
So we turned up. And we said, well, we're here to volunteer. And they said, oh, you can't volunteer. You've got to apply 3 months in advance and do paperwork. And we said, oh, yeah, okay. Well, we sort of had, because of doing theatre, we had some belief we understood how things worked. And we said, okay, yeah, fine. Well, when you get to the point...
You need help.
When you need people, and we're capable people... You can call us and we'll come and volunteer there because you will need it. And we didn't even have a phone. We just gave them an email address, and then within a couple of days, like, yeah, can you come in? So we were just stuffing envelopes, just putting tickets in envelopes. Yeah. But we got a festival pass, so we saw shows.
Wow!
And that was 2000, so that was before the Garden, I think. Really.
Well, yeah. Wouldn't that? I remember someone was telling me when that like I think it was Tom Comet and Al discovered that the Garden
Hitch. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it was around then. Maybe it would have been.
It might have been the Spiegel tent, but not the Garden.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it was the shape of the festival was.
Yeah, it wasn't the Garden of Unlimited.
It wasn't all right. The centre of it hadn't.
Yeah, I think even when I was there, I think it was in 2004. I think was the first time I was there, and it was the Spiegel tent pitch. And it was not. It was unregulated. It was just that was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was regulated in that Nigel Louis was doing a drop, and we could just work down there and.
But it was self-regulation.
Yeah, and it was outside of the fest. It was like we were on the other side of the fence, and the Spiegel tent was there, and it wasn't enclosed, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing 2000 might have been when it might have been the first year.
Yeah, I don't even remember seeing that.
Because that wasn't on your radar anymore. Doing street shows at that point.
Is it a second?
That wasn't on your radar anymore, doing street shows at that point?
I wanted to do it, but we'd sort of... That project, the Double Act project, had sort of fizzled out.
But you didn't feel like you could do it on your own yet?
No, not at all. And I remember... I think
because you're like, who's going to answer the phone?
Yeah.
Who's going to write on my head?
Exactly. That's the... Yeah. But we knew, I wanted to do it. And so I was watching shows there as... I knew I was becoming I knew I was going to be a street performer, and I wanted to be a street performer. But at that sort of process had failed, stopped, and so it sort of longingly
got a taste,
resentfully watching street shows and sort of identifying the bits I didn't like and being very superior. You know, like if you
you had a drama degree, so
if you watch too many shows, if you watch enough shows to see the mechanics. But you've never done any to understand why the mechanics are so important.
Yeah.
You get to this point where when I do it, I shan't be so reliant on structure, which is not the case.
Yeah.
So I remember watching shows really avidly and being really still. Oh wow, yeah. So this is the other thing. What's the beach called? Glenelg. Glenelg had a weekend fringe. And there were shows, like loads of roads were closed, all those little roads around Glenelg were closed, and people were doing shows. And I remember seeing Byron. That's the first time I saw Byron. Again, he's very similar. He's like my age or 1 or 2 years older than me. But he started early. He started at 15 or 16 or something.
Really young.
Yeah. Similar so I'm the same age as Ashid Shalevin. To the day, maybe 1 year out, but we have the same birthday. And similar age to Byron, and similar age to someone else, but they all started younger, so they're older than me in street performing.
Sure,
but we're the same age.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah. So you saw Byron. I remember watching Byron, and I remember seeing Phil Kay. You know the UK.
Yeah, was he in Covent Garden?
I don't know, but he's bonkers, and he did a kind of there's really weird, really great, weird, edgy, confusing, hit or miss, divisive. He's fantastic. But I remember watching him doing a thing with an LED sign, doing a bit about didgeridoos and all the O's and playing a didgeridoo with this sign and all the O's. Yeah, I can't remember. But at night time, down on the beach. And then it was going to be Mardi Gras, so we were like, oh, okay, well let's go see Mardi Gras in Sydney. So we drove back, and on the way back, our vehicle, we had to get an MOT, whatever the MOT is, on the vehicle. And I think we had to get the vehicle check, and we had the vehicle check, and they said, yeah, this vehicle is illegal. This needs to be off the road. This van we'd bought in Sydney. And we're like, okay, well, and then we took it back, so we had to rush back because our panel van was illegal. It was dangerous. It's that classic backpacker, japes.
Yeah.
Simpler time.
Learn a lot.
Yeah, it's great.
So then you finish your 8 months, you're back home.
Yeah, so after Australia, it was Southeast Asia, Vietnam and Thailand, and then that was all fun. And then we were supposed to go to India, but I just wanted to do this show, and so I'd had this incredible life experience of being on this backpacking, finding yourself thing, and I knew I wanted to do shows, and I was like, no, I want to get back. So it was rather
you'd
than
done all your
India,
research.
Well, no, I just wanted to get on with it. I wanted that. So rather than going, so rather than having a month in India, it's like, no, I want to go be in London and go to shows. So I came back and started working Leicester Square. So this is June
2000 summer.
Yeah, June 2002. 2000. Yeah, 2000. And I went to Covent Garden. So I knew about Covent Garden by then. Me and Adam had watched some shows in Covent Garden as research, stolen some material
for your trip.
For our trip, I went to Covent Garden, and I said, I think I went up to Lucky Rich because I recognised him.
Right, because you had just met him in Sydney.
Well, I'd seen him in Sydney. I'd seen him around. I don't think he'd noticed the new guys.
Yeah.
We weren't even the new guys, we were just sort of there.
Passing through.
You know.
Yeah.
And I'm as guilty of that as anyone. And I said, hi, how do I get a licence or whatever? And he said, oh, you need to go to the office. I went to the office, and the office like, oh yeah, you've got to wait a month and do a audition. And that bounced me off. And I went to Leicester Square, which is a much harder pitch, but more accessible, because it's just one angry, aggressive performer.
Yeah.
So I started in Leicester Square with a version of that. So it was a straitjacket. I think I wore tie fisherman trousers and a rubber swimming hat and a Hawaiian shirt.
What was the concept?
That just
the things you found.
Look loud and clowny and try and be original, because I'm going to not be like all of them.
Yeah, you're right.
So I wear this awful idea instead, which is what I always notice in people is, if you see too much of the art form without an awareness of the audience, and you go, well, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to be different. And the type of different time is the opposite. It's like, if you're doing the opposite of the thing, you're still reacting to the thing. You're still doing the thing.
Yes.
There's zero progress. The inversion
is the same.
Yeah. It's just the mirror. That's not progression. That's just different. And that's really common. I think you go, oh, well, I'll do an anti-show. So no, an anti-show is still exactly a show. So I wore these clothes, and I did the electronic release in the bag, and juggling duvet knives that I borrowed from somebody, and a straitjacket. So I did that for the summer in Leicester Square, sharing with an angry, aggressive performer.
Who was that?
I don't. All right. It was Melvin.
Melvin.
Do you know Melvin?
Oh, does he do the flip over the?
He used to a head spin.
Okay.
And since I have a tenderness for him, but he was not a welcoming person to new people on the pitch. But then again, he still tolerated me more than I bounced. I wasn't rejected by Covent Garden. I just sort of I was scared of the structure. And I bounced off the.
It was easier just to go work on a pitch that was open and
horrible.
Yeah, than to go and
the
fly for
thing. And I never thought I was ready. Because there's this myth of being ready for the good pitch.
Sure. No, well, I think that's fair. I think that you should wait to.
Yeah, to a degree.
I can remember, just in Adelaide, for example, that the Spiegel tent pitch, whatever, the garden pitch. I can remember, and at that point, I had a show. because I went to Australia, so I felt like I have a show enough. I've done it enough that I'm going to go all the way to Australia and do this. But then, and so you knew that 8, 9 o'clock spot is for someone who has a show, and then there was some people that would sign up for it and just waste it.
Yeah,
and everyone else would be angry.
Yeah,
because they weren't aware of the fact that they need to just practice on Run the Mall for a while.
Because it won't make a difference to them.
Yeah. So your awareness of feeling that you need to be ready to play Covent Garden, I think is.
I think
there's a sensibility.
I think there's a spectrum of that, and at one end of it is just defensive, exclusionary.
Yeah.
Like there's. Yeah.
I think there's a line where you as a performer should have an awareness of when I guess it depends on how aware you are of how.
I think most people who are aware of it are over aware of it and end up transitioning later than they are entitled to.
Maybe.
And the people who aren't aware of it are never aware of it.
Yeah.
And still come too early.
Yeah.
So it's not that effective as a system. And it can prop up an element of bullying and in exclusion, I think, in long-term hardened defensive pitches.
Yeah, I guess it takes somebody who can just speak to that person and say, you know what, we'd love to have you here, but you're just not ready yet.
Yeah, my thing is more, are you working somewhere else? People say to me, what advice, can you watch my show and give me some advice?
Sure.
And I normally say, do more shows.
Right.
Like
Before you even watch
it. Not that I won't watch it, but you probably need to do more shows. And I'd say do shorter shows. Find a pitch where you can do multiple shows. Because that person's normally on a pitch, but they can get one a day, and that's why they're asking for advice, because they're around other performers. That's a good pitch. And I'd normally say, go to another pitch and do as many shows as you can, and learn to start and finish shows, because the middle of shows are just theatre.
Yeah.
But you need to build the theatre to get the edge, and then you need to do the show, and then you need to finish in a way that, if you're trying to do it as the job, you need to learn how to collect and convince people to pay.
Right.
And the middle section is much more flexible.
Yeah.
What you need to learn is the beginning and the end. So you do lots of shows, don't drag it out too much, get on, learn how to do that difficult first bit, do the middle, whatever.
Whatever the
difficult end bit. Because when you learn those, you can frame anything in the middle.
Sure.
But what people most worry about is making their middle good enough
to keep
that it
people...
would have already started and is good enough to make them pay.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's sort of irrelevant. There's a separate thing. There's the structure of there's the format of the thing, which is the start and the end, and then in the middle, but what you instinctively want to do is, make a really original middle section by doing the opposite of whatever.
Right. But didn't you feel like so you worked Leicester Square for a while?
Yeah, I did. So did too.
Didn't you feel like that was good for you?
It was amazing. Yeah.
So it was a good decision to stay there instead of trying to go to Covent Garden more often, and maybe feel the pressure.
Yeah, but I think I started street performing. By the time I got started, and by the time I understood how it worked, so I'm 20 nearly. Yeah, this trip is 20 years, so we'll say I'm 20 years in. I wish I'd started when I was doing. I wish I'd gone to Covent Garden when I was a kid. I wish I'd started doing street performing before by the time you get round to overcoming your own barriers, and then overcoming the barriers that exist externally, which are usually less than your own barriers. Yeah, you kind of go, I could have been here ages ago. And so I always encourage whenever someone says to me, I'm thinking of doing street performing, I go, do it now. Yeah, do it now. And they go, I'm going to work on it. No. Those are just your ways of putting it off. Start doing it now. It's always bad when you start doing it badly and get better. Yeah. Because I felt like I myself delayed it as long as I could and eventually did it. And the thing with my memory of Leicester Square is where I was staying in North London, I had to get the tube past...
So you weren't staying at home?
No, I'd moved out after... So I'd have to get the tube past Covent Garden to get to Leicester Square. It was really heartbreaking because I was heading to Leicester Square, but the tube goes through, and I wanted to get off at the Covent Garden stop, but I wasn't staying on the Leicester Square stop. And I remember the tube stations are slightly different colours on that line at that point. And I used to just the yellow tube. I sort of had some residual inadequacy and
because that was the Covent Garden stop was yellow.
Yeah, where I wanted to be, but I wasn't there. I was
going to Leicester Square.
Yeah.
So how long did you work Leicester Square?
So I did the summer of 2000 in Leicester Square.
Only Leicester Square.
Yeah. And then I did.
Did you have another job?
Yeah. Well, in the autumn of that year, a friend of my mum's was a teacher. She needed somebody to teach IT to like seniors. It's like a community access IT computers, how to use the web thing, and they're trying to find someone qualified, experienced enough to teach this thing, who didn't already have who was available to teach this thing. So you can't find anyone in the IT industry because it's a really badly paid, inconvenient job. So you need someone who's not in the IT industry who has the understanding, And I'm a performer and I'm a geeky guy and I know about computers. And we had computers at home from an early age because one of my dad's side hustles was a internet. It's like a health website before the internet, like on discs. Which he used to sell at computer fairs to schools because he's a doctor and a computer guy. So anyway, so I had this job teaching seniors how to use the web. At night, once a week, to begin with, and you can date it because there was a section on search engines. Google wasn't one of the search engines because Google hadn't released properly yet. So I was paid to teach people how to use the internet. So, this is Alta Vista and this is Yahoo and these are search engines. And when you want to find something out, this is how you do it.
Wow!
So I was doing that once a week or twice a week, and then I got a phone call. It's like, oh yeah, can you? Okay, so we know you're doing this, and you're registered, and you're a teacher now. You're like a very technical, minor sense. Can you come and talk to us about another job? And there was a secondary school that needed an IT teacher to teach computers. So I was suddenly like that from nowhere. I was an IT teacher in East London, teaching 15, 16.
Was this like a full-time job?
Yeah. But it was so they were 11 to 16 year olds with emotional behavioural disorders in East London in the early 2000s. But it was full time, but it was the academic full time, which is the exact opposite schedule.
Right.
So it was a perfect job. So it was a good for me. It was a really good wage because it was a basic teaching wage. Yeah. Which for a backpacker trying to be a street performer, it's like boom, that's a thing.
And it took the pressure off, probably.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I had that, and also it wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a street performer. Yeah. But I didn't have to worry because I'd work a week doing this weird, really intense job to which I'm not particularly suited. And along the time, they're like, we'll train you to be they're so desperate for teachers. You're a capable communicator with a degree. We can train you to be a teacher as you go. So they're pressuring me to learn how to be a teacher. Like, we'll just give you some courses as you go. Within 4 years, you could be a teacher. Yeah.
And you're thinking, no.
And that was an option. It was like I could do that. That could be a career path. So I did that for 1 full year.
And then you worked on the weekends.
So every weekend, all the school holidays, just Leicester Square.
Leicester Square.
But it's perfect. So all of the good days for street performing, I could be a street performer. Yeah. All the sucky days, I could go and be well paid for something I didn't like doing, which is a perfect balance. So I did that for the first, so that's autumn of 2000 into 2001. And the best thing that happened to me out of that job was, because it's a teaching job, your wages are spread across the 12 months. So that job,
so you get paid in the summer.
I left that job in July 2001, and I still had 6 weeks at full pay. So that's when I went full time as a street performer. So I went into street performing my first summer. Where I was going, right, this is what I do now. I'm going to figure this out, and I've done all the weekends and through the winter, which is really great.
Has the show changed as you were progressing? Had you done? Was it still the same?
It sort of just tightened up, just that straitjacket.
Right. So the material in the show was the same. It just got better. Yeah. You just found.
Yeah, I think I just got more resilient. Yeah. Yeah. To to starting and finishing, and so that summer I just did Leicester Square. Still wish I was in Covent Garden, but doing Leicester Square.
Would you go watch shows in Covent Garden?
I don't know. Not really. Again, just scared.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy when you're inside structures. Like I think Covent Garden is a welcoming pitch, but I was talking to some people here. I think even in Edinburgh. Like I think in Edinburgh, it's very accessible. But I think the draw, if there are lots of cliques of people who already know each other, even without any intention of it, just by the fact that it's early in the morning and they know each other and they're grumpy, to the outsider, it's really intimidating and impenetrable. And we think we're being open and accessible because we're not saying you can't work here. Yeah. And it's another hidden privilege thing. Like you don't recognise, you don't understand the other perspective from inside your perspective.
Yeah.
And I think, we never tell people they can't work here.
No.
Isn't the same.
Yeah.
Not being overtly racist isn't the same as being not racist. Not saying you can't.
You're not aware of.
Yeah, just because you don't say to people they can't come here doesn't mean you're not unconsciously excluding people.
Yeah.
Through just by being. And I get it when I go to a gig and I don't know anyone else on the gig and they've known each other for 10 years. You kind of So I think Covent Garden, which is really welcoming. I think I just avoided it. It's just I've got to do this, got to get good. And I still meet people who work in Leicester Square who are ready, and they're pulling off shows in Leicester Square, and they're like, no, they're not ready, and they've got a reason that they're not yet in Covent Garden. And it's I'm not. Okay. I'm just gonna.
It's also in everyone's own time. When you feel you're ready, you're ready.
Yeah.
When I had that, when I first started doing shows, I think it was. I think Al put me in touch with Sean, White Boy, and because I think he was in Baltimore or something, and I talked to him, and he's like, go to Copenhagen.
Do your accent, come on. Do the voice.
No, it's almost me doing my Nigel character.
I've never heard anybody quote White Boy in their own voice before. So weird.
As I'm just going to end up sounding like my Nigel, which is kind of a version of.
Yeah. Come on, do it.
You should go to Copenhagen.
There we go.
Do shows. That he did. So then I was like, I'm not going to go to Europe. I was looking at tickets to go to Europe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think I have a show yet to go to Europe. I'm just figuring this out. And it was the next year, I'm like, I feel like I have something where I can go now.
Yeah.
It's like in your own time. So the people that are in Leicester Square still working might just feel like they're not ready, even though you might say, you're ready, your show is fine, you can go and work it.
Yeah.
I think that's what, you took your time.
Yeah, I think I should,
Well, in retrospect, you should have went sooner, but at the time, that was the trajectory that you needed.
Yeah. But in the end, so I did the summer of 2001 Leicester Square, and then the autumn of 2000 in Leicester Square, and then in December there's a fairground. Now it's a different thing, but it used to be a fairground, and it was on the pitch. It was huge rides and stuff installed on the pitch for the Christmas period.
Yeah.
And then when that arrived, I couldn't work.
Right.
And I've been working into the autumn, no problem, but I was like, I can't work. Okay, and then I went to Covent Garden.
Right, you're forced to.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
And this is the difference. I walked to Covent Garden and I saw the Great Dave.
Uh-huh.
And I went up to this tall, confident-looking person and said, "Hi, I'm new. I'm been working Leicester Square. How do I get a permit?" And he said, okay, what do you do? I said, I do this. He said, well, where have you worked? I said, I went backpacking. I went to Australia and I've just done 2 summers in Leicester Square. He said, you don't need to audition. If you can do shows, if you've done 2 summers in Leicester Square, you can work here. You must be, Yeah. And it was like just super welcoming. Right. And that's the sort of my philosophy now is whatever I know.
And who was what is it called? What's the Covent Garden? The
SPA.
SPA. Who was the head, the charge or whatever? I don't know what you call it.
I don't know who was.
Was Dave at that time?
It felt like it was Dave
and Matt
and Pad. For me, it always felt like it was Dave and Paddy, even if it wasn't them. They always felt like the grandfathers. Yeah. For them, for when I was there,
they called Dave a grandfather.
No, but like the old, like the wise folk.
Yeah,
like the authority. Not the chief. but like intellectually.
Yeah.
Like not the chiefs of the tribe.
Yeah.
But like the holders of the wisdom.
Right, yeah.
And sort of whenever...
Just the senior members.
Yeah.
Not the old guys.
Yeah, not the old guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was Paddy Bramwell's and the Great Dave.
Yeah.
And it still is...
Paddy is old, though.
Yeah. But I was... Sure, so let's date this.
I'm 48.
So this
I'm pretty sure Dave is 48.
This is December 2001.
Yeah.
So I was 23.
Right.
And Dave was...
29.
Yeah. So that's the 23-year-old. And Paddy's...
Yeah. Late 40s, maybe?
At that point?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know how old he is.
How old do you think he's now? This is 20 years ago.
Yeah, he's got to be in his 60s.
I don't know. I don't think he's... Hello, Paddy. Paddy Bramos, I doubt you're listening to this. Well, I'm sorry.
Sorry. At least I defended Dave.
Yeah. And Dave was like, "Yeah, you're fine." And I came in and I arrived in Covent Garden, and that's when I watched shows in Covent Garden. And there were 3 straitjackets and there were 8 unicycles. And I said, "I will never do a straitjacket or a unicycle on this pitch ever."
Wow.
And I put down a straitjacket.
Who was doing it? Microphone?
I don't. It might not have been 3. No, I don't remember. Just people. Yeah. Just like in my elitist drama degree.
Yeah, you're like,
I'll observe the terrain and do not that.
Yes.
But
that's fair.
Yeah. But so for me, I was like, well, I'm not doing those things, and that was the finale of the show. Was a straitjacket, and so this was December 2001.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy for me to date it because it's that event, the Christmas fair pushing me over. Yeah. And so I don't know what the show was. So I still had the electronic release. Oh yeah. So again, pulling back on the magic, the Siberian chain escape.
Yeah, the loop.
It's like a loop. Yeah. And I had some really nice fake gimmicked handcuffs. The releases bob open, but look really nice gimmicked handcuffs. And I could drink a pint of beer in the open gullet, like 6 second, 4 second beer thing, which was always a skill I'd had. So I tried various weird shows, just trying things out and experimenting, ironically. So, I got ready, I got good enough, I got a show that was good enough,
and now you're going to
I've got that here, not doing that here, I've got to do something else.
I finally got to Covent Garden, now I'm just going to do something that I'm going to make up.
Yeah, and so what it ended up being was, I'm chained and handcuffed. And I've got a pint of orange juice, and the guy who chained and handcuffed me has a pint of orange juice, and I have to drink my orange juice and escape before he drinks his orange juice.
That sounds interesting.
Which is, again, fun, right?
Yeah. And then, again, something that would work really well on stage.
Yeah.
Better than the street. Yeah. Then you got to deal with carrying orange juice around.
Yeah, and drinking pints of orange juice every day. Yeah. Or milk. And then it's great if you go to corporate because you can do it with beer. Yeah. Or if you do it at a gig where that's appropriate, it is amazing. Yeah. I love that, but it's not great in lots of places in the world. So I think in the end it was like an escape and then run around before I can't remember. Yeah. So I did that, and great Dave Evans said, "You're doing some great weird stuff. None of this is working, but this is. I love what you're trying to do. Don't let me see you here in 5 years." Yeah, that 5 years expired. Yeah, 13 years ago. So that was.
So it was helpful advice. He wasn't trying to be a dick.
No. He was like,
I really like it, but you got.
I think you've got something.
You got to come up with a show that.
No. He's like, don't get stuck here. This is fresh and interesting. Oh. Don't let this place. Trap you. Right. Don't.
Oh, I gotcha.
Twist yourself to work here and then get stuck, which is of course exactly what I did. Yeah. And then and then I still really, still going to lots of juggling conventions, interested in juggling. Now I wouldn't even I wouldn't call myself a magician or a juggler. I'd say there is juggling in the show, but I'm not a juggler, and I know about magic, but I'm not.
Back to your acting route, you're an actor.
I'm certainly not an actor. I have done all of these things, but I'm none of them. But I was really interested in juggling then, and going to conventions and stuff. And then I stopped going to conventions because they were always on weekends, and you can't take the time off to go and learn, have fun, and learn stuff. You've got to make money. But we went to the British juggling convention. And and bought a ladder. Bought a Ramsey ladder from Oddball's stall in the Durham juggling convention, which was Easter weekend 2002.
Okay.
And it was like a 7-foot ladder, and I didn't have I'd come up in a car or on a train. I didn't have any way to transport it. But I had a friend called Julian Zanzibar, who's another a French performer, lovely guy, and he was living in a squatted pub in South London, and he had a van, and he was like a cool travelling kind of festival guy with a van and a squat, and I knew him, so I was like, oh hey man, can you take my ladder to London for me? So he did, and then he had this pub, beautiful high ceiling, carpeted floor. So my ladder stayed in his pub. So I'd go to this pub that they were living in and practice ladder, and the ladder was there. So he'd learned ladder, and he still does ladder now. And he's saying we learned
at the same time
on the same ladder
at the same time. Now, where did you learn how to do the ladder? Just on your own, just
in this squat in this empty pub, and then in Covent Garden there's various things to hold on to, and just self-taught.
So you're still doing your straitjacket?
No, the straitjacket was...
You stopped that once you had the ladder?
Went to Covent... No, before the straitjacket. I never did the straitjacket in Covent Garden. I went into Covent Garden and said, we'll never do the straitjacket here.
Okay, so as soon as you saw it, you said, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's when you were drinking the pint of...
the orange juice. And something with a fishing rod, and I can't remember, some weird stuff.
And then you got the ladder going.
And then I got the ladder going. And that was...
2000.
Yeah, learned that summer, and then I went to Edinburgh.
For the first time?
For the first
with
time.
The ladder?
Met Herbie that summer.
2002?
Yeah, and it was... met Herbie, and he's, again, really friendly and supportive and interested in new people and interested in talking about the art form. And
Herbie
Treehead, the legend Herbie Treehead, one of my closest friends. And he took me to Glastonbury. He said he always used to try and take people to Glastonbury who hadn't been. He'd have a band, or he'd have various ways in which he had tickets, and he'd always try and give a ticket to someone he owed a favour to, or someone had helped him out, or somebody who'd never been. And so this particular year, he was playing his song. He's got these great songs. Check out on Spotify, Herbie Treehead, sleepy songs and not very sleepy songs. Amazing music for kids that adults love more than kids. Adults listen to it and go, this is great, kids must love this. And kids are like, this is fine.
Yeah,
Adults love it.
I know, it's great.
And he was doing his songs, but he had a sort of like a violinist with him. And then he was supposed to have a drummer, but he didn't have a drummer. And I didn't play drums. So he had me on invisible drums. So I was booked. My first time at Glastonbury was I sat on a suitcase with 2 juggling clubs and mimed playing the drums whilst Herbie sung his songs to the musical backing track of his songs in a children's field in Glastonbury. And I didn't even have a backstage pass for Theatre and Circus because we were in the children's field. And Hazel came as a volunteer. So I camped in normal camping, the other side of the festival. So Herbie took me to Glastonbury, and then everyone said, you've got to go to Glastonbury. And then everyone's like, well, you've got to go to Edinburgh. And so I went up to Edinburgh for the first time in 2002. But yeah, so at that first Edinburgh, and Dave Southern, wonderful performer Dave Southern, who was a juggler from Cardiff and Covent Garden many years ago, and for years was based in Chester, and used to travel, and he made a giraffe unicycle out of a step ladder. So, because he used to travel and it was difficult getting your unicycle to like Australia. Right. So what he realised was you could he made a kit which would turn any step ladder into a giraffe unicycle. Wow. So he had this. So that was because he's quite clever mechanically. Yeah. So he had this. So he always had this ladder, and you can self-climb it, lean it against the lamppost and climb the ladder. So he used to ride a ladder unicycle, and I went to Chester at some point before this Edinburgh time. So I was travelling around a little bit. My grandfather used to live in Chester. So I visited him, and I knew you could do shows in Chester, so I tried to do shows in Chester. And I met Dave Southern, and he had this part of his build, he'd blow down the rungs of the ladder. Yeah. And so later on, after learning the ladder, I nicked that from him. Mm-hmm. And so I was doing that. And I remember the first day I went to Edinburgh, I phoned Dave Southern, left it voicemail. I said, "Hi, it's Pete. I've gone to Edinburgh. I'm doing your blowing down the ladder thing, and I'm not asking for permission, but I had to tell you.
I'm not asking for permission. I'm just doing.
Well, because it's a voicemail. It was a voicemail as well. It's like I just want to say I'm sorry, but I'm doing it.
This is your second time in Edinburgh now?
First time. First time. But I felt I could nick it and do it in London, and that was okay. But to go to the international stage of Edinburgh with someone else's material was inappropriate.
And what was his response to that?
I think he was fine. I think he was okay with it.
Yeah.
But and that's I forget that. It's a big part. It's a big part, but still a big part of my show now.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to do with the ladder. It's loud. It's confusing.
Yeah.
It's visually interesting. It's using a normal thing in an unusual way. It's a really strong little gimmick. And I stole it from Dave Southern, and I credit him whenever possible.
So when you were in Edinburgh that first time with the ladder, what was the show like? Is it the show that you have now, or was it some? Yeah,
pretty much. But it was duvet knives out of a sheath. It was getting an audience reaction when you produce the knives. Because I always thought everyone just throws these knives around. They're very unconvincing. So I thought if I keep them in the sheaths. If you've got to treat them like knives, if you want to shoot them,
they're sharp.
Overthinking, So when you pull them out of the sheath, I get an audience reaction. And I was doing the rubber glove on the head. I think I was doing the rubber glove on the head throughout Leicester Square. I forgot to blow it up till it pops. But I managed to drag that out into like a 12-minute routine. So I juggle knives on the floor. And then I'd lean the ladder in Edinburgh, and in Covent Garden, lean the ladder against something, and then sit at the top of the ladder, so really high, and then do rubber glove on the head, blow it up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the condom trick, rubber glove trick. Hold on, you exhale through it's grotesque. You exhale through your nose.
Howie Mandel did it for years.
Yeah. So it's that, and all this any phlegm is invisible in front of it. I'd get it. The theory was pretend it had gone wrong, because it can go really big if you get it right. So the theory was to go, well, I'll blow this until it pops, and when it pops, you go crazy. Yeah. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, this is weird. Okay, when it pops, it goes bigger. Okay, this has never gone wrong, and it's convincing them that it had gone wrong, and selling that, and that if they genuinely think you made a mistake, you still love it. So that was huge. That was a 12-minute rubber glove on the head routine, whilst sat on a ladder. Yeah. So my sat sort of 8 feet in the air, which was a very effective very effective middle section, a lot of tension and comedy and height. So that, and then at the end, after that, I'd get on the ladder and juggle the knives. And that was basically the show then. So from that summer, a version of that show was 2002 until 6-8 years. And then I wanted to do it. I felt that the rubber glove was
overused.
Yeah. And a bit cheap. I just felt, again, it's a battle I have with what I think.
You're like, I see everyone's doing this. I'm not going to do this.
Well, it's more like, I'm like, no one's going to book this. I can't sell this. No one's going to book a rubber glove on their head act. Even though it is gold, the crowds love it, and I think my version
is the best version.
Well, it's a legitimate version. Sure. So I've taken something completely hack, but it's a really strong. It's really a good mistake, a good fake mistake is they love it. Yeah, it's really satisfying as an audience, and then it finishes on the bang, and it's Yeah. So as a street, amazing, and then also the rubber gloves. Quality of rubber gloves would vary.
Yes, you don't know.
And the problem is, I'm trying to sell this huge. I want this huge glove, and you can't.
You want it to last 12 minutes. If it lasts 8, it's.
Well, it's just if it goes too soon, they think it's finished, and you're like, no, that wasn't the real routine. That's the routine I'm pretending to do. Yeah. The real routine is the routine going wrong, and that takes much longer. So, so I was mucking around with the Rubik's Cube, and again, I've never seen anyone do Rubik's Cube as a routine. There's one guy came through from, I can't remember where he was from Japan or from Korea, and he just sort of did it, and it wasn't very satisfying, so it just happened. Yeah. So I learned it, and was learning it and enjoying learning it, and I thought, well, this is fun. I'll do this as a part of the build, and then I can learn it. So I do it before the show as like a warm up, or like And then I started getting the audience, and I could only do it in like 2 minutes, like a minute and a half. I wasn't fast. It wasn't, again, only the beginning of speaking, like technically officially speed cubing, but not actual speed cubing. Just like faster than the most basic algorithm.
That's what I'm doing, the most basic algorithm.
The next one, this is where my skills lie, is the next, like you got the complete beginners, and then you got whatever level 2 is.
That's when you solve the first 2 at the same time, that's level 2.
That's it. And I never, and
you don't need anything more than that.
No, well, this is it, and the amount of energy it takes to develop past that is indulgent, is for you. I always say an audience can't tell the difference between 7 balls and 9 balls.
Sure.
So if you're doing 9 balls on the street, you're doing it for you. And you may be doing it out of insecurity. You're not doing it theatrically. It's not more.
It doesn't matter with the cube, especially because you can do it as fast as you want to do it, like you're saying. This other guy.
Well, I probably should.
It's like the straitjacket. I can get out of the straitjacket in probably like 30, 40 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Why do that?
17.
What's the point? When you can make it a presentation, you can make it an act that has the tension and and then their expectation is he really going to solve this cube in under a minute? Like there's no way, and the play throughout it is more what it's about, not that you could maybe do it in 12 seconds. Who cares?
But also, this is a while ago. Now there's been a resurgence, and with YouTube, people are really aware now that the record is under 10 seconds. I don't think people used to know that.
I say that the record to get up the straitjacket is a minute and 50 seconds.
Sure.
People still go, so did you break the record? I'm like, yeah. You can look, and then some kids go, oh, I saw a guy who did it, and, I'm like, whatever, who cares? Like the general public, if they're intelligent enough, they're not going to care what the record is. No. They want to watch your presentation. They know that it's a device to...
So I started doing that as the build, and then that started working, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I think I'll drop out the glove and do the cube, and that looks more... That feels like a thing you can book. Like, oh, Rubik's Cube, that's difficult. Rather than rubber glove on the head, that's a frat trick. And I don't know when that was sort of 2008 or 9.
So when you were doing the street and you're thinking about getting booked, what was your, how much were you doing that were booked gigs that you were like worried about what you're getting booked for? Like who were you trying to sell your show?
I don't know. I don't know. So in 2004, hanging out with Herbie Treehead, he had this idea for a dinosaur circus, which is a life-size circus show with life-size dinosaur puppets.
Wow.
Which remains an incredible idea. He had this idea, and I was like, that sounds like a good idea, I'll give you a hand. Whatever you need, whatever I could do. I used to do a bit of theatre, and I'm young and dumb and got energy, so I'll help out. So myself and Matt Barnard, George Orange, Richard Garrity, I can't remember who was in the Edinburgh show. We did a show in Edinburgh with these dinosaur puppets that we made. It was fairly chaotic and in an unusual venue that's quite out of the way. It was a 1-year experimental venue, which we got mucked about by. But and Herbie put me and George together. We did a couple of double routine. We did like a double acro routine with the static trapeze, and then I used the ladder to get to static trapeze, and then this sort of comedy thing. So George Orange, George Fuller had kind of come through, amazing circus performer from Minnesota, but developed his work in Chicago. So he's from Chicago, but he's from Minnesota. But and worked with Midnight Circus in Chicago and the big sort of punk scene, and an amazing guy. And again, another really, really close friend of mine. He was coming through London and was doing Edinburgh, and Herbie got him in this show as well. And we worked together in this show. And after this show, George and I had heard about cruise ships, and we were interested in getting in the cruise ships. And he was very skills-based and clowny, but not lots of talking. And I was lots of talking and not particularly high skill. And it seemed like I was average height and fairly heavy, and he's kind of tall and lean. It's like, great. He's American. I'm British. He's got a Minnesota accent as well, so quite an East End, middle class East End, however I talk. So it's just a really great combo.
Yeah.
So we decided we'd work together, do a double act. We'd develop a double act, and then try and get booked on cruise ships.
Is this what? This is the idea of like get rid of the glove on the head.
I don't know. I can't remember where the glove fits in.
Yeah.
To this. I think I was doing. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm compressing the time of it.
Yeah.
But I know that the dinosaur show was 2004 in Edinburgh,
okay.
which seems crazy because in my head it was the first 2 years feels like a decade, but no, it's just 2 years.
Yeah.
Because of all those new experiences.
Sure, of course. You remember all that stuff.
Yeah,
It makes you feel like more time.
Like when you're a kid.
Yeah.
First. So George and I, our development process was work out a show a bit, go to Ural,
mm-hmm.
go to what's in Belgium?
Ghent. Oh, Ghent. Yeah.
Yeah. So places you can crash.
Yeah.
So we crashed Ghent, crashed Ural.
Yeah. Make no money.
To figure out a show. I can't remember which way around whatever way around they are. The first place was to go and write the show. The second place was to develop the show. So it's Ghent and Ural and Edinburgh. And that was our plan, and we did that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we did 2 summers in Edinburgh. I don't know. And he's on slack rope,
mm-hmm.
and I'm on the ladder. We can pass fire, and so we did that. And then we tried to get some work. And then we got some work on cruise ships, and we did a double on a cruise ship for a while. And then after a while, we said, "Hi, yeah." There's 2 of us, we're on the same fee as all the solo acts. Is there any chance of getting, we're getting booked, you're happy, any chance of getting more money? And I said, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, what if we were 2 solo performers? Would you book us separately? Like, yeah, whatever. Okay.
Duo fizzle.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, well, let's get the same money separately.
Yeah.
And we weren't doing stage shows on the cruise ships. This is the time when Princess Cruises had developed these new ships within like an atrium.
I've heard about
that's a space with balconies above, beautiful space to perform.
Yeah.
The lifts behind and little fountains, and they're really satisfying shows when you get all the people. And
because it feels like a street show.
Yeah, like a high end. It's like a high end street show in a foyer. So it's great. It's a great gig and a lot of height.
Yeah.
And then I think at that point there was nowhere to rig the rope, but there was a nice balcony, so I would go up the ladder and we'd pass clubs or nights. He'd lean over the balcony
mm-hmm.
and pass down to me on the ladder, and it was really great.
Yeah.
So that, and then did chips, but yeah, never really. Still struggled with getting around to doing the admin to promote myself.
Yeah, but I just like earlier because that's what I was asking about the corporate thing. You said I can't sell this glove to corporate, and I said, so what corporate things were you going for? Then you go, I got to take a piss.
Yeah. No, what I don't know.
But it doesn't matter, because you don't need to if you're working consistently.
Sure, but I managed to, I got in mostly through word of mouth, so through other people.
Yeah.
People would go, oh, you should get this guy, he's cool. And I applied to various things, and I think not trying to sell a rubber glove made it a bit easier.
Sure.
But I did Dublin in 2010. And various gigs, but I don't have an effective cycle of approach applied to everybody every year and go back to people who've applied to, like a professional person would have. But I do. It's in my mind. From my mind, the way I function, it seems easier for me to be doing shows in February in London on a weekend,
right? Because
than spending a day. Yeah, and they're tough, but there's this weird glory to it. You feel. Oh yeah, it feels, even if it's unpleasant and ineffective, it feels like you're working hard.
Yeah.
There's sort of this authentic thing to it, which is ridiculous, because working hard is spend 8 hours once a week in a laptop and get work and travel.
Yeah, I suppose. It's all different skill sets and how you want to spend that time. But if you know that you can go work in February and make money, why spend 8 hours on a computer?
Yeah, because there's various reasons, but the fact that my kid's now going to be soon going to school, the exact opposite schedule makes that less attractive than it has been.
Yeah,
and also there's places I want to go, but I'm beginning to. I've over the time I've gradually done various great gigs, big There's
like here,
like here, yeah.
I mean,
I've done the Middle East a few times, but again, that's through Edinburgh. Just through the practical end. I did Edinburgh. I'm known to be an effective actor in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And my show, very much a man on a high prop. So I thought I wasn't going to do a unicycle, but the ladder is a unicycle. It is a unicycle.
It is, but it's not.
But it's not.
It looks different, and there's different. Yeah. You don't need two people to help you up on it and all that. Yeah.
But on paper, my insecurity is on paper. My show is a Covent Garden show with a high prop, and duvet knives, and I also do a strip.
Yeah.
Male nudity, pretend, basic nudity.
It's gone over great here, your strip, by the way.
The strip here in the Middle East, they love it. Yeah. So on paper, my insecurity is, it's just this hack Covent Garden show that nobody wants. But like with the rubber glove, it's I think for that template, the show I think has a lot of originality in it.
Sure.
It's just that's not apparent from the description of the show.
Right.
How the granular level of it has a lot of originality. So in Edinburgh, people, if you come as a new performer to Edinburgh and they go, what shows you should see? They say, go see. You'll like performers. Audiences really like my show, but performers really like watching my show.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
It's a nice show to watch. It's comfortable to watch. It's an easy show to watch. It's not, it's refreshing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, despite on paper sounding like
like a guy on a ladder juggling knives, because that's not what it is.
Yeah,
but that's it's all presentation. You're talking about the Rubik's Cube. You can solve it in 40 seconds, but if you do it in a different way, it's about the presentation. It's not just guy solving a Rubik's Cube. It's like the process of solving a Rubik's Cube and what's involved.
Yeah.
So, for a Covent Garden question.
Yeah.
What have you seen? 13 years you've been there?
18.
18. All right, 18, right? Because
17. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what have you seen? Have you seen a difference in like audiences in Covent Garden, or the shows in Covent Garden, or like basically, have you seen the difference in street theatre through Covent Garden?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell because the first 10 years. I was changing so much that I've got no valid observations to make because you think it's getting better because you're getting better. So it felt like 2001 to 2010 Covent Garden. Yeah, the shows got bigger and the audiences got better, but that was me. And then it feels like it gets worse, but that's because it stops getting better.
Right.
So that feels like it's getting worse, but that's you. So it's hard to judge. I don't know. I think. It feels like there's more background noise. I used to work without a mic. It used to be really unusual to work without a mic at Covent Garden. That was half. Yeah. Half the people would work without a mic. And now it's sort of unheard of, even at 10 a.m. Yeah. When you generally don't need it. But now but the background noise is more, and even if it's not immediately more, there's background noises more. You might get helicopters for protest more than you used to get. There's a machine that sweeps the streets, which they use in the early times because there aren't people. It runs an engine. Right. That time used to be completely silent, so it'd be amazing. But now the machine comes through. Right. And now also almost to the point where it feels like if you don't. And I'm sort of averse to this, but it feels like some people feel if you don't have a microphone, you look unprofessional. And I think that's a real shame because I think the natural. If you can make it theatrical without a mic, I prefer it. Yeah. And the connection you can get. Yeah. And I think we misunderstand how it works, especially if you're up on a high prop. Or maybe this isn't just a thing I tell myself, but it just felt like you used to be able to work without a microphone. Yeah. And now it's almost impossible.
Do you find people are more distracted and have shorter attention span? Like I guess in general, but I don't
know. Again, it's so subjective because it's based on your own. You can only measure that through your show and what's going on. Your internal version of your show as you age is so different. But it was interesting watching phone cameras happen, video cameras happen. Yeah. You used to make jokes about somebody. The two things you used to do jokes with is someone filming you and someone walking through with a mobile phone. And there's various people did them, but I think they owned them. But for me, it was always Pepe would be really loud and aggressive. Someone walked through on a phone and you go, and follow that. And mobile phones used to be rare, and they used to be a similar status, and so that was really funny. And now they're neither of those things. And it's not, even if the person's walking through really aggressively, that joke has totally changed. And it used to be if someone was filming you, you'd do jokes about, is your camera working? Is your camera working? Like a loop or a freeze. And no, that's not. There's no comedy there now. Everyone's filming you all of the time. And it used to be, used to have a thing. We used to call them camera phones for a while. It was phones and then camera phones. A camera phone was a phone that had a camera on it. We don't say camera phone anymore.
You call your phone a camera.
And that's the other thing that...
You rarely use it as a phone.
Oh, God.
Computer.
Never call me. Nobody ever call me, please. One thing part of my show is around that, actually. In my show, I do the strip at the end. I try and, again, can sell it as a mistake. I try and convince the audience that it was a thing that someone in the audience was demanding. So I'm clapping for the finale, clap along for the finale, clap, and I make eye contact with someone who either isn't clapping and go, right, fine, right, what do you want? What do you, miming, what do you want? Right, throw my jacket on the floor, right, what do you want? Throw the waistcoat on the floor. Frustrated that, which comes out of an honest personal thing about mine being frustrated that somebody isn't clapping. So this is my obsession with, which I haven't really talked about, which is my obsession with controlling their response and engineering the nuance of their response to a mechanical degree, which sounds like it would make it synthetic. It's not. It's about conducting it, not anyway. But responding to someone not clapping and fine, shirt off, fine. Because I wear a kilt on the ladder, and it's throw the shirt on the floor. Fine, go to take the belt off, and then there's a, and then sorry, across the line. Oh, not sure. Okay, it's up to you. Your show. Let's have a vote. Clap and cheer for strip on, and then they cheer for take the kilt off, and I throw the kilt on the floor. I'm wearing bright underpants, and that's a fun reaction. And then I go no, and then I go back to my early days. Withdraw a pair of sunglasses from the butt of my underpants and put the sunglasses on, which is funny because it looks like it's a payoff to the thing that they thought was a surprise, was obviously prepared, which is narratively satisfying. And
this all comes from your experience.
But it all comes from and it's just a silly fun thing, but it works really well. And weirdly, when I'm wearing sunglasses and underpants and large black boots and large grey socks and a huge black belt, weirdly that outfit with sunglasses becomes an outfit. And it doesn't look weird anymore. It's really awkward. This guy in underpants and shoes is horrible. Underpants and shoes is a horrible thing on anyone. Even swimming trunks and shoes with no top is grotesque. But sunglasses, not even on the eyes, just sunglasses on the head. Suddenly, it's like slightly kinky beachwear. This is fine. It's a belt. The belt matches the shoes. The pants have a white trim. They match the white sunglasses. It's so weird that it's fine.
You think they're noticing all these little details?
But it is. Would you agree though? It's true, isn't it? Like if I don't have the sunglasses, it feels really weird. And it's like beachwear. It's pants. It's like trunks. It's fine.
It's good.
So what was my
beachwear in February?
And it's great. And the funny thing about this is, in summer they like it. In the winter they love it. They love it. It's so funny. What the heck was? Why was I describing the nuance of my finale?
Well, first I was talking about people's attention span and the camera.
Oh, filming. Yes, this is okay. There was a point. It's not just slapping myself in the back. So I would do this routine, and it developed. It used to just be to topless, and then in Dublin, the Dublin Festival, which is now used to be called the Street Performing World Championship, and now it's called the
Leia Healthcare Spectacular,
which is where we caught up for the first time in a while this year. It used to be a competition, and there used to be a prize. It was a public vote, so you would petition them for your vote. You would bottle us for money, but you'd also bottle for votes. And there are lots of
people's choice
backflippers and contortionists, and I was a chubby guy, and I used to strip down to keep the kilt on. It never occurred to me to do the kilt strip, and then I was like, hang on, if I take the kilt off, I can say, look at these guys these ripped acrobats setting unrealistic goals to your children. Don't vote for them. Vote for me. Vote for the chubby guy who asks questions and nods. Makes like vote for me. And that was the pit. And that's where this routine.
That's where it came out.
That's where the underpants. We've seen now again. It seemed quite a classic thing. Oh, it's humiliating for a man, so it's funny.
So this is only like 9 years ago.
So that was that summer was that gig was I think where that routine, and then the end of it was this speech, which is again I always felt was a version of Sharon Mahoney's empowerment.
Sure,
she's always done this great thing about empowerment.
Yeah,
and I always felt awkward that I lifted the concept from her. It's funny the things that you think you take from people,
and they're like, that's funny.
Yeah. And for me, it was very transparent. I'll take that, but not that'll work. And it is, and what started out as petitioning for votes at this one festival worked. So it's such a funny. That funny thing that turned into a big speech about body image. So I humiliate myself and get down to my underpants, and then I say whatever I say, but it's a speech about TV and people being attractive.
Yeah, and this is what a real man looks like.
And then the last bit is this is what men are supposed to look like.
That's supposed to look like, yeah.
And it's a great, and it's about body image, and it's fun, and that's the routine that people. Oh, you got to go see that. That's the thing that people talk about.
I think part of the thing with your show is it's got to be that your background in dramas, because the way you craft the show is it does really have a different feel to it. Yeah, just the fact that you bend down at the start.
Well, that's from Paddy, though. Yeah.
Was that?
That's from Paddy. I think I took that.
Oh, was it
from the early shows?
Yeah, but there's just a lot of elements I think that lend itself to. You're talking about this idea of like if you just write out what the show is, it's this Covent Garden show, but if you watch it, it's not that thing, and it's these elements that are part of it that really. But
with the cameras, I would see this show. The strip was the best thing in the show, and that speech, that line, "Man is supposed to," is the climax of the show, and it's one of the best things in the show. But you can't sell it because it's a reveal.
Yeah, so you don't want to give that away.
Yeah. And then people are filming it, and this is so 10 years ago. Over the last 10 years, you'd see footage of yourself start to come up on YouTube more and more, and people would only ever put up the last bit.
Yeah.
And I always, without context, my body on the thing, it doesn't have the power that it's a really powerful routine in the show. I'm controlling the audience and to a real specific degree for 40 minutes, and then at the end is this vulnerability, and and that vulnerability has real power and status, and I feel really confident doing it live and really happy about it. And then you take out the footage of that on its own on the video, and it looks ridiculous. It feels like they say, "Hey, look at this dumb guy."
Yeah,
and it's stripped of context. It doesn't have any of that power or any of that status, and it's sort of. I was uncomfortable with that situation, and I knew there's nothing I can do about that situation because people you're filming. And what I did was I started directing the speech down the camera. I realised that the audience for that routine is the people who are there, but it's also the document of the footage that they make. And so I shifted that speech. So that speech is now not addressed to the audience, it's addressed to the people filming it.
Are you looking for those people?
So I look to the camera and I deliver it to you. So I reclaim so they can't say, "Look at this dumb guy," and own the framing of it.
But what if someone is filming over here and someone's filming over here? How are you going to?
Just I don't know. In my head.
In your head.
That's what it, and that's what I've done. That's how I've integrated the people filming. It's and then the line is that it's hello. It's because the line is. Hello YouTube, hello the internet, hello people of the world.
Right, I got you.
And that's and at the end, this is what men are supposed to look like. Put that on YouTube.
Right.
And it's me taking
back the
power of that fact that the show is the show, but it is also the document of the show.
Oh, yeah.
Just trying to take control.
Evolved into the I think we've extended your time past. When you wanted to go?
Familial obligations. Yeah, we're going to go to the aquarium.
Yeah, you're going to go to the aquarium. Thank you for taking the time out of the busy morning. Yeah, of course.
I've got into it now. I feel like we've just started.
Yeah, I know that happens. Yeah. Well, we got the recorder. There's always more stories that can be told. But I appreciate you taking the time to do it. And we got a few more days of shows here in Sharjah. Let's educate them.
Yeah. I think they're getting it.
We're getting a little bit.
I'm enjoying it.
It'll be good. The weekend will be good.
I'm relaxed now. Yeah, the weekend will be great. Friday's going to be amazing.
Yeah, should be. All right, go to the mall, go to the aquarium.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me such a good time. Thank you for being my best friend.
In the interview, Pete mentions Herbie Treehead's album Sleepy Songs and Not Very Sleepy Songs. If you don't know Herbie, he's a lovely clown that has a long history in street theater and is on my list of performers whose stories I'd like to include in this podcast. I put a link to his album in the episode notes. Pete provided me with a hunk of photos, so we've once again put together a YouTube slideshow of the interview, which you can check out on our channel. You'll also find a link to merchandise you can purchase that features the new logo. If you'd like to support the podcast and show off the cool new design, head on over to our online store. Thanks again to those of you who have already made purchases. Speaking of supporting the podcast, if you'd like to become a sponsor of the podcast or know someone who would, contact me at magic@buskerhalloffame.com. You can also visit the Busker Hall of Fame website and throw a little love into our online hat by clicking on the donate button, or become a sustaining supporter of this podcast at patreon.com/Busker Stories. Thanks in advance for supporting the project and helping keep busking history alive. Your support for the podcast will allow us to get episodes out more frequently and improve the quality of the recordings. Music for this podcast came from 357 Lover. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you enjoyed this podcast, please tell a friend about it and leave us a 5-star review. It'll help get us noticed, and we'd really appreciate it. If you'd like someone to be interviewed or feel a certain voice has not been heard, please reach out to me and let me know. We're doing our best to capture interviews and stories with as many performers as we possibly can. It's up to you to help fill in the gaps. So on behalf of myself, Kim Potter for putting together the YouTube slideshow, and the rest of the team of the Busker Hall of Fame, remember, if you can't laugh at yourself, find someone else and laugh at them. I'm Magic Brian. Thanks for listening.